In an unexpected turn of events, I found myself in my girlfriend Emma's body. Every day, I dealt with morning sickness and endured my mom's harsh words. Meanwhile, Emma, in my body, watched from the sidelines.
Emma, we need to talk. We have to figure out how to switch back.
Didn't you say you loved me and wanted to bear the pain of childbirth for me? Well, here's your chance.
I found myself waking up in my own bedroom, only to hear my mom yelling.
Emma, you got pregnant with my son's child and still have the nerve to ask for a dowry of $10,000.
Mom, what are you talking about?
As soon as I spoke, I realized something was wrong. My voice sounded different, and when I reached down, my little buddy was gone. I lifted the blanket and saw a large chest in my girlfriend's pajamas.
Shameless thing, still pretending. Who's your mom? I don't recognize a loose woman like you as my daughter-in-law.
Is this really my well-mannered mom?
I got out of bed and looked in the mirror, followed by my mom who continued her tirade. The face in the mirror was my girlfriend's. My mind was racing with one question.
Where's David? Where did my body go?
My son went to work, unlike you, who just freeloads.
Given the situation, I stayed home, planning to talk things over when my body returned from work. Last night, my girlfriend and I had a heated argument before bed. I accidentally revealed the truth, that I had tampered with the protection to avoid paying the bride price. Furious, she stormed out. I played video games until late, not caring about her safety.
I thought our cohabitation was going smoothly. My mom even came from our hometown to take care of her when she found out she was pregnant. How could she not be satisfied?
Now I see my mom's attitude towards her was completely different when I wasn't around. My mind was a mess, just hoping my girlfriend would come back soon so we could talk. But she seemed to have vanished into thin air and didn't return by evening.
Take care of yourself and don't overwork.
Then she turned to me, blaming me for driving away her precious son, and launched into another round of scolding. Frustrated and helpless, I could only wait. Because of the pregnancy, I felt uncomfortable all over. When I complained to my mom, she didn't care and called me pretentious. Exhausted, I got out of breath doing even small tasks. She cursed me again, and she guarded against me like I was a thief, hiding even a single dollar.
I've scheduled a procedure for you today. You're coming to the hospital with me this afternoon. Since my son isn't here, I'll make the decision for you.
What procedure?
Get rid of that burden in your belly.
I couldn't believe it. She wanted to get rid of the baby.
Sad, Mom. This is your own grandchild. Serious, how could my mom be so heartless? No matter how much she dislikes my girlfriend, they are both women. Such a procedure is harmful to the body. How could she be so casual about it? Unfriendly, don't think my son doesn't know just because you haven't said anything. We can't be sure if the child you're carrying is even from our family. You got pregnant so recklessly. My son isn't a fool. He's already suspicious. Why else would he have left in anger? Serious, what a joke. When did I ever doubt her? I'm my girlfriend's first love. We've been together for 4 years in college, and there's absolutely no issue with that. Right now, my mom is just spouting nonsense to force me into submission. Luckily, I'm the one who heard it. I would never believe it, but if my girlfriend heard it, she might. She might even be so upset that she'd do something drastic. Exhausted, I'm exhausted both physically and mentally, too tired to argue. I was about to go back to my room to lie down. Relieved, then I heard the sound of the electronic lock at the door. Emma, who had been missing for 2 days, finally returned home, looking just like me. Excited Emma, you're back. I've been so worried. Sad, but she pushed me aside with an indifferent expression. My mom didn't care at all. She seemed pleased to see Emma ignoring me.
Skjefulgson.
You're finally back. Just now, Emma kept insisting that the child isn't yours and even made an appointment at the hospital. Shocked what? Watching my mom's tearful performance, I was utterly shocked. Sad, I know Emma isn't like that. It's all my fault for being poor and unable to afford the bride price, which is why you couldn't get married. I deserve not to have a grandchild. Serious, my mom was still acting. I couldn't wait any longer and pulled my girlfriend into the room. Hopeful Emma, is it really you? Serious, yes, it's me. Relieved, thank goodness, my body hadn't been taken over by someone else. Emma, please don't leave me, okay? I've been so worried these past 2 days while you were gone. Mom wouldn't let me leave the house, and I couldn't even go look for you. Sad, it was clear from the moment she walked in that Emma's eyes were filled with coldness. She looked down at my belly, saying nothing. Considering how my mom had treated her behind my back, I could understand her current demeanor. But if she took my body and disappeared, I would have to continue living as a woman, even going through pregnancy and childbirth. Terrified, the more I thought about it, the more terrified I became. I held Emma tightly, not wanting to let go for even a second. If she wanted to leave me and the child, now would be the perfect time to break up. Even if I announced to the world that I was the real David, not even my own mom would believe me. I might even be sent to a mental hospital because of it. Now that the child was in my belly, I finally understood how difficult it was for women. Which woman in the world doesn't long for love and care, especially during pregnancy? But what did my mom and I give her? Verbal attacks, demeaning her worth, calling her unchaste, lowly, and desperate. There was even physical torment, all just to marry her without paying the bride price. Even I, as a man, couldn't stand it. How could my girlfriend, who was alone and far from home, endure it? Hopeful under my anxious gaze, my girlfriend finally spoke. Serious, David, you should know by now that I haven't been happy living with your family. Although I don't know why we switched bodies, I don't want to go through with this marriage.
Panic set in as I tried to salvage the situation.
No, Emma, I was wrong. Please give me another chance. Once we switch back, I'll go to the bank and get the money for the bride price.
Emma sneered, roughly shaking off my hand. Her eyes were icy, revealing she'd known all along that I had the money but didn't think she was worth it. Just then Mom barged in.
Son, come with me. I need to talk to you.
Emma was pulled into Mom's bedroom. I knew without listening that Mom was up to something that would harm my relationship with Emma. Now, I was the one carrying the baby, vulnerable and at everyone's mercy. If Mom and Emma decided to team up against me, I'd be in serious trouble. Desperate, I shouted.
Help! My stomach hurts so much.
Emma rushed out immediately, but Mom followed slowly, scolding.
Why are you shouting? My son finally comes home, and you want to drive him away again?
Mom was a master at shifting blame, always saying one thing to your face and another behind your back. In the past, Emma suffered this treatment in silence. Now it was my turn. When we first found out Emma was expecting, Mom's attitude shifted from polite to harsh. She privately told me it was to keep Emma obedient.
Women are naturally troublesome and need to be disciplined.
I listened to her, following her advice on devaluing Emma, implying that an expecting woman before marriage was worthless.
If I weren't a responsible man, I would have abandoned you long ago.
Emma believed these words for a long time and endured Mom's harsh criticisms. Now experiencing it myself, I found it unbearable.
Mom, I'm carrying your biological grandchild.
I looked to Emma, hoping she'd speak up for me for the child's sake. But she ignored me, holding Mom's hand.
Mom, you should go rest. She's fine, just pretending.
But what if something really happens? Wouldn't you be worried?
She's just a troublemaker. Who cares if something happens to her? You're more important, Mom.
Emma's words stung deeply. It was clear she had no intention of standing up for me.
Stunned, I was stunned. How could she say that about me? Cheerful, my son is so considerate, always thinking about his mom.
After Mom went back to her room, I couldn't hold it in any longer.
Angry Emma, how could you say that about me? I'm your partner. Half smiling, oh? I just repeated what you usually say. Why are you so upset?
I was too angry to listen to her, just venting.
Shouting you don't care about me at all. Or the baby. Do I even matter to you?
Emma paused, seemingly deep in thought.
Serious, so when a man is expecting a child, he talks like this too.
I didn't understand, and suddenly, Emma's face turned cold.
Angry, stop being unreasonable. Do you know how unpleasant you look right now? Like a shrew. Who would want you if you keep this up?
Her words sounded oddly familiar.
Sneering, these are your own words.
How do they sound now?
Ignoring my frantic attempts to stop her, she grabbed a pillow and blanket and stormed out of the bedroom.
Sad, I sat on the floor, utterly bewildered. I had no idea how I managed to sleep that night. My head was pounding and my body ached all over.
The next morning, I was rudely awakened by Mom scolding.
Angry, it's so late, and you're still sleeping. Can't you see the whole family is waiting for you to make breakfast? Just because you're expecting doesn't mean you can slack off.
Groggy and miserable, I forced myself to get up after a long while. Meanwhile, Emma was still sound asleep in the room.
Angry, why should I, expecting a child, have to make breakfast for her? As the saying goes, enough is enough. I stormed into the room and shook Emma awake.
Emma, looking exhausted, had just sat up when Mom barged in and scolded me.
Angry, he's so tired. Why are you bothering him? Go make breakfast.
Then she turned her attention to Emma, speaking softly. Their harmonious interaction made me feel like an outsider. Mom was truly gentle and doting towards me. No wonder Emma always called me a mama's boy. Watching their profiles, jealousy burned within me.
Hopeful once we switch back, I'll still be Mom's precious child. And to switch back, the key person is Emma. I've decided to endure and use some tactics if necessary.
After Mom left, I immediately grabbed Emma's hand and placed it on my belly.
Pleading, this is your own child, Emma. How can you feel nothing?
Emma's expression softened, and I seized the moment.
Serious, Emma, how do we switch bodies? When will we switch back? Serious, I think this is quite good. Didn't you say before that if you could, you'd rather bear the pain of childbirth for me?
She smiled with my face.
Serious now, the opportunity has come.
That was just sweet talk during our relationship, wasn't it? Just words, and she took it seriously?
Serious, I'm a man. Sweet talk is fine during dating, but after marriage, how could I treat my wife like that?
If it weren't for Emma being young and pretty, and her family having some money, I wouldn't have pursued her so hard in college. Unexpectedly, for years of dating had developed some feelings. Emma repeatedly lowered her standards for me, and only then did I start considering marrying her. But this marriage was based on the premise that the benefits outweighed the costs. If Emma hadn't been expecting, and I had to pay for the bride price and wedding jewelry, we would have broken up long ago. People live in this world to look out for themselves.
Serious, I knew Mom was a bit harsh on her, but Mom raised me. If I had to choose, I'd definitely choose Mom. Besides, if we really got married, Mom would be the one paying for the wedding. I couldn't understand why Emma couldn't think more clearly like me. Both women loved me, and naturally, I didn't want to give up either. Sad, but now that we've switched bodies, Emma has suddenly become cold towards me, and even Mom is always coming between us. At the dining table, if I took an extra piece of meat, I'd get glared at for a long time. Since birth, this was the first time. Serious as I reflect on the reason my girlfriend could take over my job, it brings back memories of our college days. We started a small e-commerce company together and built it from the ground up.
We put our hearts and souls into that business.
Sad later, when my girlfriend became pregnant, I took over all the business operations and naturally, the financial control fell into my hands.
It was a lot of responsibility, but it felt right at the time.
Worried now that she has returned openly, I started to feel uneasy. What if she decides to leave me and take all the money? I would be left with nothing.
What a misfortune. Truly a misfortune.
Serious, perhaps due to the hormonal changes during pregnancy, I was constantly on edge. My mind was filled with images of being abandoned by my girlfriend, leaving me deeply unsettled.
It was a dark time, filled with uncertainty.
Sad during this period, my girlfriend's cold attitude towards me did not go unnoticed by my mom. She took advantage of the situation and called over a group of relatives.
These people, who used to be warm towards me, now looked down on me with disdain and sarcasm.
Oh, they say girls from big cities lack self-respect, moving in with their boyfriends before marriage.
Yes, and being pregnant before marriage, in our days, she would have been severely punished.
Angry, I frowned and looked at my mom. It was her idea in the first place, and now she wasn't saying a word to defend me against these harsh criticisms.
The baby seemed to sense the hostility around us, and my stomach started to ache without reason. Mom, my stomach hurts.
Shouting, I reached out, clutching my mom's clothes, trembling in pain.
Stop pretending. We're all women here, we've all been through it. If you don't want to work, no one is forcing you. Go back to your own family.
Terrified, I trembled as I understood her words. So, she wanted to force me out.
Fine, I'll leave. I've had enough of this.
Furious, I stood up and grabbed my bag. My mom didn't try to stop me. Instead, she directly pushed me out of the house.
I won't take this unjust treatment anymore.
Relieved, luckily, my girlfriend didn't drive to work today, so I took the car and drove away. Returning to my girlfriend's home, her parents would surely take good care of me. I drove nearly 1,000 kilometers back to her family home. Being pregnant, the journey was exhausting, almost unbearable. After much effort, I finally knocked on my mother-in-law's door. Oh, you're back.
Mom, I'm back.
Relieved with that, I walked inside, only wanting to rest. My mother-in-law seemed to understand what had happened. Thankfully, she didn't ask many questions and started cooking for me. Serious, my father-in-law, sitting on the sofa, remained silent, seemingly very angry about my arrival.
Dad, I came back to see you and Mom. How have you been?
Shouting to my surprise, my father-in-law slammed the table and pointed at me, shouting angrily. How dare you come back? You've brought shame to our family. Now that you think you're independent, you not only ran away, but also got pregnant before marriage. Now that you've been abandoned, you come back? Your mother, and I will never forgive you. Sad, I stood there, feeling a wave of guilt and despair.
Putting myself in their shoes, if my daughter had done something like this, I would find it hard to forgive as well.
Dad, I wasn't kicked out. I just wanted to come back and see you all.
Unexpectedly, Father pushed me towards the door.
Oh, really? Since you weren't kicked out and you've seen us now, take your things and leave. I don't have a daughter like you.
I was so anxious that I couldn't speak. After all, the fact that I was expecting before marriage was true, and being kicked out was also true. Staying at home was hard, but staying at my girlfriend's house was even harder. I never thought that one day I would find myself in such a miserable situation. Fortunately, Mother felt sorry for her daughter and came over to pull father away, crying her heart out.
Silly girl. Your dad doesn't really want to kick you out. It's just that what you did really broke our hearts.
What else could I say? What's done is done. I had no choice but to soften my stance.
Mom, Dad, it was my fault. I'm sorry.
After everyone calmed down, I was eating the delicious food Mother had made, and I almost burst into tears. Ever since we switched places, I had been constantly mistreated by my biological mom. As a pregnant woman, it had been days since I had a decent meal like this. Seeing me devour the food, Mother felt even more heartbroken.
You insisted on getting married, but your dad and I had already told you that David had a lot of issues. Not only is he a mama's boy, but he also got you pregnant before marriage. You really need to think this through.
This was the first time I heard their true opinion of me from father and mother. Of course, I felt very upset, but at this moment, I had no strength to argue back.
Mom, Dad, David is actually really good to me. Even if his family can't afford the bride price, I still want to marry him.
Father and mother were both very angry upon hearing this. I knew what I said was excessive, but to achieve my goal of marrying my girlfriend without spending a penny, I had to win over these two first. My girlfriend was already pregnant, and they probably wouldn't demand the bride price and the traditional gold jewelry. Otherwise, if we kept delaying, my girlfriend's belly would only get bigger, attracting more gossip. If I had to find another woman, it would cost money and be a hassle.
What kind of spell are you under? The baby isn't far along yet. Before you get married, let Mom take you to the hospital to take care of it. It's better to start over.
Your mom is right. Since they aren't sincere about marrying you, it's better to end it now.
Getting rid of the baby was out of the question. Not to mention losing my girlfriend, I might not even be able to return to my original male body.
That's not possible, Dad! I absolutely won't agree to that. I will safely bring this baby into the world, and I am determined to marry David. Also, for the sake of my and the baby's happiness, please don't ask for the bride price.
Using my girlfriend's body, I directly made this unreasonable request. If I could successfully persuade father and mother now, I could marry Emma for free once I returned to my original body. My girlfriend's parents were highly educated intellectuals. I didn't believe they would be willing to completely sever ties with their daughter. After crying and making a fuss for a while, my in-laws reluctantly agreed to talk to my mom. Feeling confident, I went back to my room and had the first uninterrupted sleep in days. The next day, Mother informed me that my mom had agreed to come over to discuss the wedding arrangements. Finally, after all my persistent efforts, Emma and I would have a happy ending. Suppressing my excitement, I went to the local hotel with father and mother. Seeing my girlfriend standing next to my mom after days of not seeing her, I immediately walked over happily.
Haven't seen you in a few days, the baby, and I missed you.
My girlfriend glanced at my belly but didn't react much. Father and mother's expressions immediately turned sour. What my mom said next made them even more furious. We had initially discussed a bride price of $100,000, and the girlfriend's family would provide a car worth $200,000. But now that the bride price was off the table, the dowry should be too.
Since the girlfriend is expecting, she doesn't deserve a bride price, but the dowry from the bride's side should still be given as usual.
Father and mother immediately turned hostile, and my girlfriend was so angry that her eyes were blazing. Fearing that both sides would come to blows, I quickly interrupted my mom.
Mom, isn't that a bit too much? No bride price and still expecting a dowry? Isn't that like making me a live-in son-in-law?
Now it's your family begging us to marry. If we don't get some benefits, who would want to accept a daughter-in-law with a questionable past? I'm the one at a loss here.
Her words made my heart pound with fear. Sure enough, the next moment, my girlfriend stood up abruptly. My mom looked at my girlfriend with satisfaction, seemingly pleased with her son's current assertive stance.
Enough. I declare this wedding off. We're breaking up.
See that? My son said the wedding is off. Your daughter can marry whoever she wants. I want to see which decent man would be willing to take on your family's burden.
Everything was ruined. Mother was so angry she almost had a heart attack and turned to me.
Emma, you see their attitude now. I would rather die than let you marry David.
I couldn't care less about responding and grabbed my girlfriend.
You can't do this to me. We've been together for 4 years in college. We have feelings for each other. Have you forgotten?
In my rage and desperation, I kept pulling at my girlfriend. But to others, it just looked like an abandoned, expectant mother unwilling to let go. My mom thought I was going to hurt my girlfriend and slapped me hard across the face. A buzzing sound instantly filled my ears.
How dare you hit my daughter?
Mother screamed and rushed to fight with my mom. As I watched, heavily pregnant, I grew increasingly anxious. With the combined efforts of my father and mother, my mom quickly found herself at a disadvantage.
I wanted to step in and help, but my girlfriend held me back tightly, forcing me to watch as my mom was harshly reprimanded.
Dancing on my parents' nerves, your mom getting scolded is exactly what she deserves.
Feliz, ich schaute daher.
How can you break up with me? I'm carrying your child. You need to take responsibility.
I am taking responsibility. Isn't this how you took responsibility for me before?
I was left speechless. Breaking free from her grip, I rushed to my mom.
Stop! Stop it!
Only then did my father and mother stop.
Emma, why are you still defending this old woman after how they treated you?
My mother looked at me disapprovingly.
Come on, your dad and I will take you to the hospital to terminate the pregnancy. Get rid of the child and leave these scumbags. You have a bright future ahead.
I was so anxious I didn't know how to explain, and everything went black as I fainted. When I woke up again, the first thing I saw was me sitting beside me. It took me a moment to remember the body swap.
Sigh, it seems we haven't switched back.
I reached out and grasped my girlfriend's hand tightly.
Emma, I was wrong. I truly realize my mistake. Please forgive me. Give me another chance. I promise I'll treat you and the baby well.
Seeing me awake, my girlfriend's face remained expressionless.
Your mom is also in the hospital. She's fine. My dad and mom went to pay the bills. You should go back with them later.
What does she mean? Is she leaving? Before I could say anything, she spoke first.
Let's end this. Don't contact me anymore. I've already blocked you.
No. I'm still in your body. Even if we break up, we need to switch back first.
My girlfriend shook her head, looking at me with a knowing expression.
I knew it. Someone like you will always only think of yourself. This child should be terminated as soon as possible. He was just a tool for you to control me, and now he's completely useless.
They say there's a special bond between a mother and her child. During these months of pregnancy, I have felt deeply connected to my baby, spending every day together, and our bond has quietly grown. When I heard that the baby might be taken away, a wave of sorrow and reluctance washed over me.
Emma, how can you not want our baby? This is the symbol of our love. I'm willing to give you a dowry, just pretend none of this ever happened.
My girlfriend clearly didn't believe a word I said. She stood up and walked away. My head buzzed, and I stared blankly as her figure disappeared. My father and mother came to find me, wanting to take me home. I was agitated and about to say something when suddenly everything went black. When I regained consciousness, I was sitting by a hospital bed, looking at my mom's swollen face.
This.
Have my girlfriend and I switched back? After a moment of shock, I was overwhelmed with joy.
Great! We finally switched back, and I can marry my girlfriend. This time, I must do well. I'll give double the dowry if I have to, just to marry my girlfriend smoothly.
I stood up cheerfully and my mom asked,
Where are you going?
To marry Emma!
Weren't you not getting married?
I couldn't be bothered to explain and ran out, heading straight to the hospital room from earlier. But there was no one inside.
My girlfriend is still expecting. Why would she leave the hospital in such a hurry?
For some reason, a sense of foreboding rose in my heart. I turned to the nurse's station, and before I got close, I heard the announcement.
Patient number 32, Emma, prepare for surgery.
Surgery? Surgery?
Is my girlfriend planning to end the pregnancy? I rushed to the operating room, frantically questioning my father and mother.
Where's Emma? Where did you take her?
My father snorted disdainfully and didn't answer. My mother looked displeased but, mindful of the people around, said coldly,
She's having surgery. Since you've broken up, be dignified and stop bothering my daughter.
No.
I've realized my mistakes, Emma. Why won't you believe me? Seeing me refuse to leave the operating room, my father called security, who forcibly removed me. The last thing my mother said to me was,
You didn't cherish her when you were together, and now you won't let go after breaking up. David, you really are the worst of the worst.
I tried countless ways to contact my girlfriend, but she had blocked me on all platforms and left the city. In the vast sea of people, where could I find her? I wandered aimlessly every day, losing interest in running my company. The business was deteriorating. On top of that, my father and mother-in-law decisively withdrew their investment, causing severe financial issues. Before long, I was deep in debt.
Why don't you meet some new women?
Mom kept introducing me to different women, but my mind was filled with thoughts of my girlfriend and her child, leaving me uninterested in dating.
Maybe it's better if I return to our hometown. You need to calm down first.
Without her interference, I decided to sell the company and went to my girlfriend's home to find her. But when I arrived, I found out they had already moved away. I then went to several cities she had mentioned she liked, and even contacted her classmates. But none of them were willing to tell me anything. In the end, I was penniless, unable to even afford a train ticket home. Hungry and exhausted, I wandered around the train station entrance. Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared in the distance. Wasn't that my girlfriend? She was dressed in a sharp business suit, her figure looking perfect, with meticulously applied makeup, giving orders on her phone. Beside her, a handsome man was carrying luggage, looking at her with love in his eyes. After she finished her call, the man embraced her, and they stayed close for a long time before reluctantly parting. Then my girlfriend boarded the high-speed train. It seemed she was going on a business trip. She looked like she was doing really well. Leaving me, the source of her troubles, she seemed to have been reborn. I thought I should rush over to her. But for some reason, my feet were firmly planted on the ground, unable to move. The high-speed train slowly left the station, carrying her towards a bright future.